how are you today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Very good. Today is Buddha teaching anniversary, so please speak Dharma, his word. You are amazing.
Thank you. I will joyfully teach Dharma, just as Buddha Shakyamuni did 2,935 years ago today. It was actually that many years ago that he taught the Four Noble Truths, which is a very basic and yet very deep teaching that strikes at the causes and conditions of both happiness and suffering, which reside within my own thinking. And I would love to talk hours and hours and hours upon these, but I don't have that kind of time, and that's not actually what I want to talk about today. So if you want a more brief overview of it, in the same series there's a bunch of different teachings about the Four Noble Truths, and you can view 1, 2, or all of them if you want to get a more comprehensive understanding of those. What I'm here to talk about is something very obvious and something obvious, necessary, and most often overlooked. And that is the fact that we're humans. It's something that's used more as a base instead of looked at as a jewel. Because as it stands, it's used mostly as like, I'm a human, therefore I have these rights. But it's never really questioned as to the humanity itself as being a right, or not necessarily being as a right, but being as a gift, something that you've given yourself by your positive thinking. And so you can just look at it and think of all of the beings around, being a human we think is the best, because we have thinking, mainly, is what makes that the best. Because we're not animals, we don't have kind of this mindless survival instinct, where that's all we rely on is our survival mode. And we also aren't insects, which have the same kind of survival instinct. And we're not single-celled organisms, which we don't necessarily know what it's like to be a single-celled organism. So, being a human really has 3 kind of qualities. There's the things that we're grateful that we don't have, the things that we're grateful that we have, and what we should do with it. So in terms of grateful what we don't have is mostly looking at what we aren't. And that we aren't a dog, we aren't a cat, we aren't a mosquito, we aren't a hornet, we aren't, a bacteria. We're a human being that stands and thinks. We aren't as driven by our need for survival as wolves, per se, or deer or elk. We don't live in fear of being hunted. We don't live in the depths of an ocean where it's super pressurized, super cold, and we're being constantly gnawed at by little, other beings. As it stands, in terms of being an animal or being a human, it's really comfortable being a human. I mean, I don't honestly live in fear of being slaughtered every day because I'm a human. I don't have a constant fear. I have more of an awareness of what's going on around me, which is the quality and aspect of being a human. So, if you ever think, oh, well, that's just, if you ever take that for granted, just look at how many animals there are versus how many humans there are. Look at how many insects there are versus how many humans there are. Just look at how much there is aside from being a human. And that should give you a kind of idea of how precious it is to be a human. And the second part is looking at what we do have. And what we do have is 6 senses. We have eyesight, we have hearing, we have smell, we have taste, we have body sensation, and most importantly, we have consciousness. The sense of consciousness. And it's a unique quality that we think about our thinking. We have philosophy, we have psychology, we have this thirst for understanding, which is really what makes this such a precious quality. And it's what Buddha taught is the way that you can use that, is how you utilize that thinking. Because as an animal, you don't really have much of an opportunity to go, what am I thinking right now? Because you're either living in constant fear of being eaten or something, or you're looking for food, looking to eat something. So really looking at that and thinking what a great opportunity that is, because really what it means to be a human is that you have the choice of what you're going to think. You have the leisure to sit back and actually think about what you're thinking and make a decision in every single moment whether you are going to choose to be happy or choose to suffer. And you have that opportunity that animals and insects and whatever else, single-celled organisms, ghosts, gods, whatever else, doesn't have. It's a unique quality of humans. And so, just that should be enough to spur you into some sort of action. Just this idea of just how precious you have right now. And it's something so simple as you're a human. So, it's something that you really just need to rejoice in. And just totally recognize that even when you're suffering, you still have that opportunity. The difference between the suffering of animals and the suffering of humans is that when animals suffer, they don't really have much else on their mind. Whereas when humans suffer, they can either turn it into practice, like Tonglen meditation for Buddhists, or they can choose to make it worse. Either, oh, I'm so suffering, I have a splinter, oh, that's so bad. Or like, I have a splinter, and I'm going to go on with my day. I have a splinter, no one else have the feeling of splinter ever again. May I dissolve all of the suffering of splinters into my splinter pain. We can choose to do something with our experience, with our feelings. And so, really being thankful for that. And that's why this day is so important, is because Buddha offered us the way to be happy. Buddha offered us all of these countless techniques that are really appropriate for each and every human being. To really say, this is what you need to do to decide to be happy. And you can do it because you're a human. You can do it because you have time. It's like the weekend. Being a human is like the weekend of rebirths. Because when you're in an animal, a hell being, all those things, you're just burning off, you're working. And then you have that weekend, and it's your decision what you're going to do with that weekend. You can either relax and just not do anything and just kind of waste it, or you can actually say, okay, this is the time when I'm really going to use what I have and decide to make myself happy and to condition everyone else being happy to help other people do that. So I want to end with a quote from the excellent teacher who taught 2,935 years ago. It says, "Let us rise up and be thankful. For if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little. And if we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. And if we did get sick, at least we didn't die. So let us all be thankful."
Thank you very much. And thank you very much teaching Dharma. And please learn Dharma and more practice and teach Dharma to whole world. All Buddhas rejoice you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.